Welcome back, Bears fans, to a Thursday, but actually Wednesday edition of the CHGO Bears Podcast, presented by PointsBet. Use promo code CHGO when you sign up to get two risk-free bets up to $2,000. What is going on, everybody? Will DeWitt here a day early because it's a short week. I told you all on Monday night that I was going to be here, and true to my word, Nick, Will, Chicago Audible style Bears game preview. What's going on, man?
What's going on? Well, happy to be here. A day early, like you said, crams in a little bit of the information, but still, we have it all for you in this preview show today.
Yeah, I'm excited. If you're watching live, I kind of worked on my green screen. So we had Mason West on the show Monday night who told me he's using the same green screen I have on StreamYard, so I don't have any excuses for a glitchy virtual background. And he was right. I just needed to pretty much put it on my backside, and it works. So no more glitchiness, Nick. And I feel like I'm fully here, not just like half in, half out throughout the entire episode.
No, that's a good thing. Well, I still have my green screen at my parents' house. I haven't brought that over to the apartment yet. Maybe I'll just join you and we can, just have the same back. I mean, it
You have a
works. It
nice
looks really good.
background, though. I have a crap living room that turns into like a baby nightmare of toys everywhere, every single day down here. So it's just best to kind of hide it behind
It
some
looks
sort
good.
of screen. Thank you. I appreciate it very much. But of course, this is our game preview episode, all aimed to make you the most informed Bears fan on game day, which is tomorrow. We'll discuss the keys to success on both sides of the ball, determine who has the edge, share our weekly X factors, our bold predictions brought to you by Green Ridge Farm, and a whole lot more. And just like we do every single week, would love if you can ask some questions in the chat. Today we have Lawrence producing, which it's not too often Lawrence and I get to work together.
Oh,
so here,
man.
how's it going?
Dude, I'm excited and nervous and everything. You've got a lot of things going on in this show, and Joey put these beautiful graphics together. I'm just going to try and do what I do here.
I think you're going to do a great job, and you're going to start some questions along the way. So that way,
Yes.
At the end of the show, we'll do a little Q&A mailbag sort of deal, which has been how we've been kind of ending these preview episodes, and it's a great time. So you got a lot to kind of do in the background. So all the magic you see on screen, it's all due to the magic man behind the scenes. And today that's Lawrence.
All right, I'll get out of the way. Let's do
this. Sounds great. Now, of course, if you're watching, smash, shatter, bust, break to pieces that like button. I want to see those likes go up throughout the entire episode. You can follow me on Twitter at Will DeWitt. My L's are ones, and at Nicholas Moreano. Now, Nick, last week, I gave us like a one-liner to kind of open up the show, and I was kind of getting ripped to shreds in our comments last week after the fact because everyone made fun of me for using my one-liner as winnable. That game was winnable last week. I don't think I was too far off.
No, well, I mean, if the Bears made in-game adjustments like they did at halftime, we would be talking about something completely different, realistically. But the Bears, at first, it looked like it was no way close to being a winnable game, but those adjustments showed, and the Bears made it close in the end.
Yeah, they really did here. So I do want to give us this exercise to kind of start the show yet again real quick. What's your one-liner of the Washington? What are they going by this year? Commanders?
Yeah, they're the Commanders this year, and I'm just gonna say close. Close is gonna be my one-liner for this one. Again, a short week, and we'll get into the details about this, but the word is going to be close.
Okay, mine is reunion. We have the Charles Leno reunion. Tress Way, if someone who actually like watches punters enough remembers, he was part of the Bears training camp forever ago. And I was coming through the roster last night, this morning, and guess who I saw is on their defense as a backup? Do you know who I'm talking about? Did you see the name?
No, I'm blanking. Who do you got there?
John Bostic, baby.
Yes. I knew that, but for some reason I didn't at the moment.
I see Cornelius Lucas as well from Doug in there. So there we go. We got it's a reunion type. And Ron Rivera, Bears. There's just so many things you can do. And we'll talk about it in some keys later. But Carson Wentz, our defensive coaching staff, and head coach Matt Eberflus has a lot of intimate experience coaching against Carson in practice all last year in Indianapolis, which I think is also good key. All right, so let's go ahead and get into our keys of the week, and we'll start with our keys to success on offense. And Nick, I'll go over to you first. What is key number one for you this week?
Yeah, when I looked at this Washington Commanders game on the schedule before the season had started, I worried about their front seven. I'm still worried about their front seven. So my first key is get the ball out quickly. They have 14 total sacks on the season, Will. 6 guys with 2 or more sacks. And this is a front that these guys can line up on, multiple different sides. They know how to win their one-on-one matchups. And we saw even in that Minnesota game, the line did play better, but there still were some protection lapses throughout the entirety of the game. And you can't have that here against a Washington front that has guys that are more than capable at multiple different positions, from linebacker to defensive end to the defense interior, that can win those matchups. So get the ball out quickly, see if you can make a guy miss in space, and then pick up yardage that way, because these guys are coming after you. You have Jamin Davis, Darren Payne, Jonathan Allen, James Smith-Williams, Montez Sweat, and then F.A. Obata, I think is how you pronounce his name, who also has 2 sacks there. So a lot of guys that are capable of rushing the quarterback.
Obata, believe it. Good job on that name, by the way. So I agree with you completely. And I thought getting the ball out quick was something that Justin Fields and the Bears did better a week ago. There's even a play when Justin kind of threw it over to the flat to his right side out of the shotgun, where obviously you want him to follow through his mechanics at all times, but he didn't even take a step. Like, he took the snap, toward his torso, and just kind of fired that ball, just kind of showing like how quickly he was getting the ball out of his hands. Is that just something you want to kind of see carry over, or is there anything different you want to see this week?
No, I think it's the quick decision making, knowing, again, if a defense like this Washington is bringing a blitz, that you can identify where that hole in the zone is. Like we saw that over the middle of Cole Kmet in the game against the Vikings. So things like that, and using different arm angles. I think this is going to be a game where you see Justin have to do that because where the pressure is coming from. And I think Justin does an excellent job of being able to deliver the football when he has to do sidearm types of things. So those are still the things that I want to see in this one. And I know it's just going to be a difficult task because of those guys they have up front.
Yep, and luckily they do have players in a secondary that are, I say, exploitable if they can get the ball out there quickly enough. And I have some good stats on that coming up, but I want to get to my first key here first, and that's going to be don't sweat it. Of course, I'm talking about their edge player, defensive end Montez Sweat, who is just a nightmare coming off the edge. And unfortunately for the Bears, I think he's starting to heat up right about now. He leads the team with 18 total pressures, 2 sacks, 7 quarterback hits. Both of those sacks came last week. As I mentioned, he's starting to kind of trend in that right direction. He also had multiple tackles for a loss before the half a week ago. So he's going to test this Bears offensive line, offense in general, in more ways than one. Braxton Jones is in for another big time test here. When I'm looking at this matchup, obviously, I think Sweat's going to win some reps. I don't think you can totally neutralize him, at least coming here this week against the Bears. I just want them to try to make Sweat a player that's not a game plan wrecker, I think is like the term I want to use here this week. Don't allow him to just totally break apart your game plan. You want to stay on schedule, on task, and being the kind of play the football that you want to play. And a big part of that's going to be at least minimizing Sweat's impact on it. And it really does help, as you mentioned with your first key, get the ball out quick, right? If you do that, it's hard for him to kind of get pressure, make those impact plays. If you are able to get the ball out fast, not all of those long developing, deeper kind of route combinations. Just get the ball out quick, get into space, and let your playmakers do some work. How are you feeling about Sweat?
Yeah, I'm sweating about Sweat. That's how I feel about it, Will. No, he's just a guy that he wins with a lot of different ways. You saw him win with, power in that game against the Titans. He was able to just hit the left tackle's hands away from him. And it was a backup too, so we have to put that out there why he did have a good amount of success. But he does a lot of good things, Will. The one thing that I think Fields can also incorporate in his game is his cadence. There were 2 times where Sweat was flagged for a neutral zone infraction or an offside penalty. These are aggressive defensive linemen that want to get after the quarterback. You're at home. Use your cadence to see if you can draw these guys off sides. And I think, that should be a part of the game plan and just another part of Justin Fields' growth as a quarterback. So I think that can also be incorporated here too.
That's a really good point. In terms of like using that aggressiveness against them, I think that does kind of lead into your second key a little bit.
Yeah, it does. And again, you get the ball out quickly, but also use the screen game. Going back and watching that Titans Commanders game, on 2 consecutive plays, the Commanders defense gave up a 24-yard gain on a screen pass. And then the very next play, those guys that were kind of going up front, upfield and trying to get after, the quarterback, they gave up a 13-yard touchdown screen pass to the left side of that defense. Both sides, both times they went to the left side. They did adjust better to it in the second half, but see if that's the case. See if that wasn't just maybe a in-game adjustment. See if that's actually how they're now adjusting and playing this. And the Bears, they had a couple of screens that worked last week against the Vikings, but I think collectively you still want to see more in that aspect of the passing offense. But that's where you can hurt an aggressive defense like the Commanders, incorporate the screen game, an easy pass for Justin Fields to whoever the playmaker is, and hopefully get some yards after catch.
Now, talk about the screen game. One nitpick I'm going to have, though, from last week, I forget the exact down and distance, but there's one screen that keeps coming to my mind when you're talking about it. And it was like as soon as Justin
2-point conversion.
I think it was a different one, though. But that one was but there's one what I'm thinking of when as soon as Justin had the ball in his hands, like the defense was on him. And I know you want those guys to slip through, but they just provided like no resistance. Instead of even like that screen being one that worked, it was a dead play. And you can't do that to yourselves. You have to at least sell the block for a split second. Give Justin some time to make that throw. You can't have 7 guys coming down on him and then trying to find an outlet real quick. It's just not a recipe for success. They have to execute the screen game on top of just calling these plays too. Are there any other ways that we can take advantage of the aggressiveness, whether it be more like pop passes to Velus Jones Jr., kind of extending those edges a bit, misdirection? What do you got?
Yeah, no, I think that's also a good way. We saw the touchdown that Velus Jones Jr. had last week against the Vikings being that jet motion. And if you're a defense that's not keying in on your keys, like what we're talking about right now, then you lose people. You lose sight of what is actually the goal for you on that specific play. So yeah, motion. Give them some eye candy. Like don't let them just come free off the edge and wreak havoc in the backfield. I think that's also going to be key if you want to try to slow down this pass rush. And obviously, if you can keep a defense out of rhythm by not being so predictable and when you're going to call a pass or a run, that also definitely helps in terms of trying to stop a pass rush.
Now, we're not doing our listeners a service if we're not talking about some like mildly breaking news. I think on this show, it wasn't anything I expected to talk about, but around 10 minutes ago, I saw Brad Biggs tweet out that Alex Leatherwood has been activated. So he is now in that 21-day window where he can be placed on the active roster. Is he someone that, now he's been around for, almost a couple months now, kind of learning this offense and getting acclimated in Chicago? And obviously, as we know, like Cody Whitehair is out for a good chunk now, and we're playing a makeshift offensive line yet again. And we all want Lucas Patrick to kind of make that move to center. Would Leatherwood be the case, like the path towards it eventually? Maybe not this week, on a short week, as he's still kind of getting reacclimated. But I think more so than like a Schofield, Leatherwood could perhaps be that guy to kind of make that unit where we've envisioned it, with that being Patrick at center.
Man, that's tough, Will, because honestly, like Alex Leatherwood, when he got here, there was a lot of hype maybe around the potential of, a former first-round draft pick, and then obviously, gone for weeks now, and now is not finally being activated. But we need to see with him. I think obviously anytime you can have more depth in the interior of the offensive line, one that's hurting because of the injury to Cody Whitehair, that's going to help. But I'm really keeping my expectations low. There's talent, yes, but we need to see if he's actually grasped this playbook, it's clicking with him, and see ultimately where he's going to play, right? So I think there's a lot of different factors here, and the window just opened for him to actually be reinstated. But yeah, it's interesting one for me. How are you feeling about it?
I'm right there with you. And honestly, aren't those like exact parallels right now between Alex Leatherwood and N'Keal Harry? Like same exact situations, high pedigree, came here, setback already out of the gate, and now it's like waiting for them to kind of make their Bears debut and see what they actually can provide this team this season. And if Brian Poles was able to find, I'm not going to say a diamond in the rough because they were prized possessions in the draft, but like a reclamation project, can one of these or both pan out? So I'm right there with you. I'm being patient with it, but I feel like if the Bears want Lucas Patrick to go to center, the only viable path to that now would be them believing Leatherwood can play guard, because we saw what Schofield can do in the preseason wasn't great. And if they thought he can be that guy now, I still believe last week we probably would have saw Lucas Patrick at center, but that's just not the case. That's just the only way I can see it happening.
Yeah. Again, time will tell with kind of how that situation plays out, but you just want to see Lucas Patrick at center at some point, and you don't want to have that hole at left guard if that's the case.
At least the versatility that we've heard about from Lucas Patrick is already kind of paying off, and we're seeing it. But we want him at the spot we envision and where his home really is. All right, let's get to my second key now. That was a long-winded way to get all the way to key number 2, but that is just keep building Justin up. Build up that confidence for Justin Fields. We saw it last week. They put the game in his hands a little bit, and it started to pay off. As the game went on, he got more and more confident. And from the end of the first half through the second, I felt like, and I think many agree, that we saw Justin play his best ball of the season, and there's no reason to stop that now. Don't take the ball out of his hands. Don't give him any reasons to start having more doubts creep in. This is the week to continue to allow him to build up his confidence. William Jackson III, Kendall Fuller, they're easy targets in this defense. They've allowed 35 catches for about 550 yards, a pass rating combined of 145 when targeted. Like, those are guys you can throw on without question. And then once you get into the red zone, I want to see them throw it a little bit more. The Commanders, they've given up 11 passing touchdowns this year, which is the 4th most in the league. They allow 6.1 yards per completion in the red zone. They only allow 2.9 yards per rush inside the 20. So you can pass to them a little bit easier than run inside the 20 in the red zone, which is crucial. The Bears were 100% last week in offense inside the 20. They're very efficient, scoring touchdowns on 40% of their plays, and they can get those opportunities yet again here this week because the Commanders, they allow the most red zone trips in the NFL. Offense has been able to walk down the field and get into scoring position consistently against this defense. Yes, they're a very good unit on third down. Yes, they have a good defensive front, but they just have these drives where they just fail to allow teams or force them into third down. They allow these bigger chunks in first and second, and next thing you know, a team is totally flip field position. So it's possible, and I think a lot of it can happen with allowing Justin to continue to play within the system, open up that playbook just a little bit more, and just allow him to play a little bit more confidently yet again.
You know, when I was watching again the Titans, what they were able to do in terms of scoring, a lot of it happened like you were saying. Well, those first and second downs, they had production. I mentioned those screen plays, but just drags over the middle of the field, those mesh kind of concepts, which puts a defense in in conflict at times, knowing when to dive down and break down on a route, or allowing it to be passed off to somebody else. So I think there are going to be opportunities. Again, it's just, can Justin Fields get time in this one?
All right, key number 3, Mr. Moreano.
The key number 3 for offense, don't got one. Hand it over to you, Will.
That's
Boom.
right. Dang it. You do 3 for defense, and then offense, you're like, 2's enough. That's right.
Yes.
And I like how you even acted like you're looking at your notes, even though you knew.
I'm like, wait, I had another one? I'm like,
no, I didn't.
No.
That's right. All right, back to me, double dipping DeWitt over here. My final key is rediscover the run. Only 78 yards on the ground last week, season low, and only 31 of those yards came from running backs. Justin Fields had 47 of those 78. David Montgomery, 20 yards on 12 carries. Half of that came on his touchdown run. Herbert had 11 yards on 4 carries. Over half also came on 1 run. So really, over half of the running back production came on 2 carries. That's just not enough. And that's just a far cry from the 203 yards per game in the ground that the Bears had 3 weeks prior on average. And Nick, I don't know about you. And I know like Montgomery, he came back and he's the guy. I totally get it. And I'm not trying to step on his toes. I just really believe the Bears offense would benefit from finding the balance between Herbert and Montgomery. And I know Montgomery gives you a little bit more as a receiver, and that was on full effect last week. I'm not trying to discredit that whatsoever, but to wear down a defense, to control time of possession, you need to have a capable running attack. And look, just like last year, Montgomery went out, Herbert came in. Herbert played well, Montgomery came back, Herbert got put on the shelf. I don't want to see that happen again, and it felt like last week that was the case, and I was kind of disappointed.
Yeah, so Luke Getsy kind of mentioned in his press conference yesterday how they're reverting more to passing a little bit if you see Justin Fields' pass attempts. And again, they knew in this game they had to get explosive plays through the air. So I think byproduct of that, you saw less rushing overall. But I agree with you. There's too many times where it is just a David Montgomery drive or a Khalil Herbert drive. But I guess they're each getting their opportunities, but you don't want to see either one of these guys be left out of the equation. And if it's going to be one of them, it's going to be Herbert. So we need to find that balance, and they're still trying to figure that out. Obviously, going into Game 6, but I completely agree with you on that point.
I just don't think 4 touches for Herbert's enough. Like, if you can find a way to get him around 8, 9 carries, and then Montgomery takes the rest, and of course, I know he can be impactful coming out of the backfield as a receiver, and you don't want to get too one-dimensional. And I also understand that Montgomery's a little bit better as a pass protector in the pocket. He can help just in that regard. So there are benefits to keeping 32 on the field. But when you just see what Herbert's been able to do on the ground in terms of like averaging over 5 yards per pop and just consistently turning out big plays, I just don't see the reason why you want to keep him off of the field too. It's a bad problem. I mean, it's a good problem to have. I just want to see the Bears try to strive for balance. They don't need exact balance, but I thought it was a little bit overly skewed last week. It may have been fine for that game plan, but this week I would not mind them trying to wear down this front for the Washington Commanders. And honestly, that helps so many things, right? It helps the third down distance. Commanders have the 5th best defense on third down, and the Bears have been an offense like every single year, Nick. They just struggle on third down. You know my phrase, like third downs should not be a death sentence. Yet again, they are, and we need to find a way to get that just be something of the past. Stick with the quick passing game. That's an extension of the run. Whatever helps keep the playbook open on second and third down is really going to help the Bears here. You don't have to run for like 150 or more yards. You just have to have efficient runs that keep the defense honest. The Commanders give up 4.2 yards per attempt. That's the 10th most in the league, so it can be done. It's just a tough-nosed unit that the Bears will have to try to find ways to move the line of scrimmage, establish it, and it's going to be a tough test. But just find a way to rediscover the run, because if it's exactly what it was last week with only 78 yards and half of those, or more than half, came from the quarterback, I think we're going to be on the wrong side of things here this week.
No, I completely agree there, Will. And like you said, efficient running. Doesn't matter about how many attempts. And Eberflus talked about that too. For a defense, if they limit a running back to 3.7, 3.8, they can live with that. But it's the efficiency that can really hurt a defense.
And then Bill Zaire said it would be fun to see some 2 running back sets. And that's something that we've actually talked about for an offseason and a half, 2 years now. Like, when are we going to run some of this personnel? And we'll see. I would like to see that as well, because it really would give the defense something to think about. Who's getting it? How are they going to get it? I think it does add more wrinkles and dimensions to an offense and what a defense has to prepare for pre-snap. So I really like that one too. All right, let's switch over to our defensive keys. We are running long here today. We are really excited about these Bears offense and those keys. What's your first key on defense?
Yeah, I'll make this one quick. It's just limit the explosive plays. You just look at last game, what Washington was able to do. Diami Brown, a 75-yard touchdown, a 30-yard touchdown as well. Scary Terry, 34 yards. Curtis Samuel, 32 yards. John Bates, a tight end, getting deep in the explosive plays over the 20-yard reception. So they have 18 total explosive passes this season. That's in the top half of the league. And Carson Wentz, he was able to make some plays deep down the field, and even though they still lost that game 21-17, they didn't have to sustain long drives because they could get those big plays in big chunks like that. So if you're the Bears defense, you have to limit the explosive plays.
Explosive plays, like, they could just be a backbreaker. And as you've mentioned, they have an offense capable of having them. And it's interesting because last week was like we were just killed by like little nicks and cuts, right? Like, they weren't just throwing the dagger downfield all the time. The Bears were just dinked and dunked on, and that was just so difficult to just, I don't know, watch. And hopefully that doesn't happen again. And which actually goes through to my first key, which is grow a damn backbone. This defense needs to. It's a must. 89 yards per game on average, in terms of like, what is that stat? 89 yards per game on average, 5th worst in the league. I think that's the Washington rushing attack. Yes, I should probably put that in my notes a little bit more clearly. So when I look at that, like, there's no reason why this run attack should just go up and down the field against this Bears defense. But as we know, they're like the 2nd worst run defense in terms of like yards per attempt allowed, which is just pitiful. That should not happen. It's unacceptable. I know you had the quote from Alan Williams, like, we're the Chicago Bears and we should finish games. I would like to see them finish drives in the first half. Keep opponents out of the end zone, and the red zone would be good as well. Maybe contain a little bit better. Those edges every single week continue just to be a thorn in their side. And the Commanders, they find a lot of success when they run the ball to the edges. And when you look at their offense, they haven't been able to put up a lot of points. Only 11 points per game over the last 3 weeks. Having the second worst run defense, like I mentioned, yards per game, it's just pitiful. The red zone defense last week was bad. Roquan Smith just had a few bad plays, whether it be the first touchdown run to Dalvin Cook when he just got swallowed by a lineman. He got totally washed out of the play when he missed a tackle on Jalen Reagor in the backfield too. Like, these are mistakes that should not be happening for a linebacker looking to get paid $20 million a year. The Bears need to make their tackles, show some pride, and grow a backbone, Nick. To me, it's a simple key to state, but a lot of work needed in order to make it happen.
Yeah, they need to make those adjustments earlier in games to not allow these big leads and then halftime adjustments to then make the corrections. And yeah, obviously that's something that Alan Williams talked about, and we'll see if it actually happens. But we'll go to my second key here, Will. And if the Bears are going to, apply pressure to Carson Wentz, they have to create interior pressure. I look at left guard Andrew Norwell, and I just have no bueno. No bueno how he played last week against the Titans there. 2 sacks given up, 3 total pressures. He had a false start. And then even the center, Nick Martin, had some low snaps in that game, threw the timing off, and they're at home, Washington. But yet, it just seemed like there was some dysfunction, especially in the interior of that offensive line. I look at how Justin Jones has been playing. I think he's been doing a pretty good job there at the 3-tech position. So you need to win those one-on-one matches. I feel like I bring up one of these keys in every previous show, Will, and it doesn't usually happen. So maybe I need to. This is a part in where the Bears need to look at this matchup. I can win this. This can help the defense. This can get us off the field, like Alan Williams was talking about yesterday. Someone needs to make a play. Try to do it against those 2 guys. They've been struggling a little bit.
You do like to pinpoint some of these singular matchups, which is odd because you haven't done it yet too often, but I did it for Montez Sweat. And now here on defense, my second key is just contain Curtis Samuel, because my God, just contain Curtis. He's another big test for the Bears in the slot. 15 catches there, which is 4th in the league, 160 yards. 53 of those came after the catch, and he's just used all over their offense. He'll be sent across the formation in motion, meaning the Bears are going to communicate, make adjustments as to like who has them pre-snap and kind of, figure all that stuff quick. So they're going to be tested in that regard. Carson Wentz, he's been getting that ball out quick, as you mentioned, of short passes, and they've been able to get a lot of yards after the fact. And of course, Terry McLaurin, he's a bigger outside threat, but he does go in a slot from time to time. He's been very effective there. He's caught 6 of 7 targets for 127 yards when he slides inside. So again, just like you, every single week. Kyler Gordon, he's going to be put on notice, and I thought he played better a week ago, especially his open field tackling, but there's still room to grow. And again, he's a rookie. We're 5 games into this thing. If he was perfect, then awesome, but that's just rarely the case. We still are waiting and going to see growth out of Kyler Gordon. And can they try to force Wentz to hold it too, right? You talk about getting some of that pressure. Can they force him to hold that ball for an extra second or two instead of what I saw last week in Minnesota, which was his Cousins, dink, dunk, play action, roll out, dink, dunk. It was just a rhythm. And the Bears don't want Wentz to get into a very similar rhythm. They want to keep him off schedule, on his heels, on his toes, and just find ways to make him uncomfortable in the pocket. And if you have good coverage, which Jalen Johnson returning this week can really help here, that should allow the pass rush to kind of hit home, or at least get there more consistently to speed up his process and just maybe make mistakes happen. He's thrown 6 interceptions so far this year. I think it's 6, maybe it's 8. Either way, there's plenty of room for the Bears to come away with takeaways. I actually have some stats about later. So anyway, that's my second key, which is to contain Curtis, which turned into a long-winded approach of maybe just cover better too.
Hey, the Bears need all those keys if they want to have success on Thursday night. And then last one I have here, and I kind of spoiled it earlier, is just make adjustments before halftime. Alan Williams admitted they should have played more too high earlier in the game. Did he realize that when they were down 21-3? It's like there should be these in-game adjustments that you should see, not just from halftime on, but from drive to drive. And I'm sure the Bears were trying to do some things, but schematically, once you see that a offense was attacking you, like Roquan identified Justin Jefferson. Like they kept going to Justin Jefferson. And it's like, well, if you keep doing that, make the adjustments necessary so that that's not an issue as much, at least. I know he's a great receiver, but for the Bears moving forward, I would just like to see those adjustments made sooner. And I think every Bears fan would love to see that, because the discrepancy between the first half defense and the second half defense is huge right now. It's like they finally gave up their first touchdown in the second half last week on the game-winning touchdown drive. So if they can make their two defense look more like the second half one, the Bears are going to be all right.
Yeah, you got to find ways to get it done. And man, hand me the baton because you just led me in a key number 3 for me, which is take control early. You mentioned it. We want to see this first half defense start looking like the second. And this is a great opponent and an opportunity for the Bears to discover that. When you look at this Commanders team on the season, 79% of their offensive plays have come when they're trailing. 87% of their yards gained and 11 of their 12 touchdowns scored have all happened when they are playing from behind. They are not used. This offense is not used to playing with the lead. So you don't let them do it. Obviously, the offense for the Bears need to do their part here too to actually put some points on the board to make a lead. But this Bears defense has a chance to make things difficult for this Washington team and keep them playing from behind. A feeling they're all too familiar with, and I think they're comfortable with too, which I think is a concern if you're a Washington fan. But they only average 4.5 yards per play in the first half. The Commanders do. 12 of their 20 sacks surrendered have came in the first half. And at average, I think they've been around 9 points behind at halftime. So this is a team that doesn't play their best offensive ball in the first half. This is the Bears defense, as we know, has really struggled in the first half of games to make those adjustments quicker, as you just highlighted. So taking some control early, I think, is a real opportunity. And I think if they can hit that key, I think that just means yours is a success.
Yeah, that works out perfectly well.
All right. Those are our keys to success on both sides of the ball. Hope you enjoyed them. I saw some of your keys come in too throughout the comments. Thank you for those. Up next, we're going to actually give you our Bear Poll predictions brought to you by Green Ridge Farm. But before we get to that, I just have one message to share from our good pals over at PointsBet. And this is football season. PointsBet is bringing you a better way to bet on live on games, which means before this ad is over, you can place a live same game parlay, bet on the next drive to be a touchdown, and cash out on your live second half over bet. PointsBet, you have access to more live football markets than ever before. Build the perfect live same game parlay by combining your favorite bets anytime during the game, including spreads, totals, player props, and more. Choose the outcome of the next drive and next points with PointsBet Lightning Bets. So whether you are on the move or on the couch, do it live on PointsBet. Download the PointsBet app today and sign up with the code CHGO to get your first 2 bets risk-free up to $2,000. And if you or someone you know has a gambling problem and wants help, call 1-800-GAMBLER for crisis counseling and referral services. All right. This is the CHGO Bears Podcast. I'm at Twitter, at Will DeWitt. My L's are ones, at Nicholas Moreano. Follow us. Hit the like button here on YouTube if you can. I'm sure you can if you're able, and if you already haven't, definitely do that. It's time to get into our Bears bold predictions. Love this graphic on the screen right now. Brought to you by Green Ridge Farm. Nick, what is your bold prediction for this Thursday nighter?
So we've been talking about how aggressive this Washington front is and how they're going to be aggressive moving upfield, trying to get Justin Fields. My bold prediction for this Thursday night football game tomorrow is that Fields has himself a 50-yard touchdown run. Should have had a 52-yarder last week, Will, but it got brought back with that illegal block in the back by Amir Smith-Marset. But I think Justin Fields takes advantage of this front that is going to be moving upfield, finds a lane, and takes it 50 yards to the house.
Love it. That would be electric on primetime. And after last week's Thursday night game, I think it's well needed in that environment, and it would be good things for the Bears and for Justin Fields to kind of do it in that space. My bold prediction, brought to you by Green Ridge Farm this week, is Dom Rob. 2 sacks, 1 batted pass, and a forced fumble from Dominique Robinson this week.
Love it. Love it. We need some people to step up and get some pass rush. Robert Quinn has not had a good season. Will, 1 sack. Travis Gibson hasn't had a sack in 2 games. We need to see somebody on the front 7 create some havoc for opposing quarterbacks.
It's a must. So I agree. And that's really 2 good bold predictions by us. We're going to do our X Factors in a moment. Before we do, Nick, tell me about the meat sticks.
Oh man, the meat sticks. Everyone wants to know about the meat sticks. Green Ridge Farms is a Chicago local meat and cheese company that offers a better all-natural option. And Green Ridge Farms are the makers of all natural deli meat, sausages, and their famous meat sticks, perfect for tailgating, happy hour, and school lunches. Also, they have 16 grams of protein per stick, perfect for that post-workout snack. And right now, when you order any 3 meat products at greenridgefarm.com and include a pack of those delicious meat sticks in your cart, those meat sticks will, guess what, be free simply by using the code CHGO at checkout.
Man, it's hard to beat meat sticks, but free meat sticks, really hard to beat.
Yes. Can't beat it. Can't beat the meat. I'm done.
I almost had you there. Almost walked you into that one. Actually, so Buffalo Louie's is the wings place in my town here, and they literally have a shirt that says "You can't beat Louie's meat," and it's in my closet.
Oh, that's good for them.
My grandma has one of those. She wanted it, by the way. So that's where we're at in life.
That's good.
Awesome. All right, let's get into our X Factors this week. Love that feels graphic from Joey from a week ago. I don't think Lawrence is going to try to take credit for that one. But Nick, do you want me to start off with X Factors since you did bold prediction first?
Do it well.
All right, short, sweet, and to the point for my X Factor this week. Turnovers and takeaways. I know it's one that every team preaches week in, week out, but this week, it just feels like it's an opportunity for the Bears to really win the turnover margin. The Commanders have 8 turnovers in offense. That's the 10th most. 6 of those were interceptions. I was right. And when you look at their defense, Nick, they're not advantageous. They're not making many plays on the ball. They only have 1 turnover all year. That's the lowest in the NFL by a ton. They have just not been able to force takeaways on this defense. So ball security for this Bears offense and just this Bears defense. Allow Carson Wentz to make a mistake and make him pay. I said that about Davis Mills, and it happened. I said it last week about Kirk Cousins. Kendall Vildor showed me right, and it happened. Same thing this week with Carson Wentz. And like I said earlier, too, like Matt Eberflus spent all of last year as the Colts defensive coordinator and practiced against Carson Wentz every single day throughout the year. He knows what makes him tick. He knows his weaknesses more than maybe some, because I know there's a lot of film on him, and we know who Carson is at this point, but like, you see him in practice. You get to know a little bit more than what you see on film. So I think that familiarity is really going to help this Bears defense have a good game plan to kind of take advantage of those weaknesses that Wentz has. What's your X factor?
Yeah, it's similar to what you have, Will. It's just limiting mistakes. I think when it comes to miscommunication on plays, we've seen that happen over and over again on the offensive side of things between Darnell Mooney and Justin Fields. So take that away. Completely missing blocks. We were mentioning earlier in the show how, yes, the offensive line for Fields looked better, but there were still plays where offensive linemen are not even touching guys. Can't have that. And then obviously turnovers. Like, what made Justin Fields' game against the Vikings so great was that he didn't have any. He almost lost a fumble at the end there, but he didn't. And so if you can limit those mistakes and not give the Washington Commanders offense chances, then you're really putting yourself in a position to come away with a victory on Thursday night. But if you do all those things that I said you can't do, then you're really giving them, again, more opportunities to come away in Chicago and get that victory.
I see a lot of different X factors coming in. Doug saying Roquan Smith, Shannon saying Jalen Jones, Justin Jones. So many Jones on this team. It starts with J's too. It kind of gets your tongue going. Justin Jones at defensive tackle. And then I saw another one for Carson Wentz over here from, of course, Ron Rivera. There's always a coach in there in this chat. And yeah, thank you for those X factors along the way. Nick, you tried to find out who has the edge. You ready for it?
Let's do it.
Cool. Well, lucky for you, you have a second because I'm up first this week. I have that Bears passing attack versus the Commanders pass defense. Boy, Nick, both of mine this week, I would say are head scratchers because I'm giving this one to the Commanders, but that's really just because the Bears aren't proven. Like I've talked about those guys that the Bears can throw against that allow that quarterback rating in the 140s and allow all those yards and the high completion percentage. But the pass rush concerns me a little bit more. And the Bears just haven't proven to me that they can be an effective passing team week in and week out. Yeah, they have a lot of room to go before they can reach that status. The Commanders are 19th in yards allowed through the year per game, 23rd in net yards per attempt, and they give up the 5th most passing touchdowns. You want this Bears offense to be a team that can take advantage of defenses like that statistically. They're just not there yet. But if they do adhere to my first key in terms of like keeping Justin comfortable, building that confidence, the numbers may not be earth shattering, but they can be very solid yet again. And that's what I'm hoping for. But I don't want to put too much expectations and too much pressure on the Bears and their passing attack. So I'm just going to remain calm and just say the Commanders have the edge here this week. What about you with the Bears ground game, that rushing attack versus the Commanders run defense?
Yeah, Will, I have the Commanders in this one. They're currently ranked number 6 in rush DVOA. And like I said, they have more than capable guys that can get after the quarterback, but also know how to play the run as well. And we kind of mentioned how the Bears are playing or really running the football last week against Minnesota. There wasn't a lot of attempts, and it wasn't very efficient because a lot of their runs came on, one specific play for Herbert and for Mooney. So I'm actually giving this one also to the Commanders, and we have them at a 2-0 start here, Will.
Yeah. And here we go for the third one. Commanders rushing attack versus that Bears run defense. And it's like bad versus bad, but which bad is worse? And unfortunately, just like the Bears offense and the passing attack, like I don't have much confidence that this Bears defense can stop anybody on the ground. When have they done it this year? I haven't seen it yet, especially when teams attack those edges. It's just been porous out there. This defense is moving backwards. They're not stepping up and making those tackles consistently. The gap integrity, I can't believe it took us 42 minutes to mention gap integrity once in this show, because that's still an alarming issue from this unit. So yeah, I'm not worried about like the Commanders, like, and what they can do on the ground. I don't think they're dynamic, but this Bears defense has just been so bad. I can't give them the edge over anybody. I said that last week. They did nothing to make me feel like it could actually be in their favor this week. So yet again, the Commanders have the edge here. So it's 3-0. Nick, let's go all the way old school, call back to Brandon. Are we breaking out the broomsticks?
No, we're not, Will. They are not going to win this one, which will be the Commanders' passing attack versus the Bears' pass defense. Look, Wentz lost the game for the Commanders last week on the very last play, and honestly, he should have been intercepted the 2 previous plays too. But he's had his way with the Bears, 3-0 and 96 passer rating in 3 contests, 5 touchdowns, 656 yards. Great. And he made some good throws in that game against the Titans last week, but you're getting Jalen Johnson back. I like how Kindle Vildor is playing. Again, we got to see how Kyler Gordon's going to hold up. But a lot of those passes, those explosive passes I was talking about earlier, Carson Wentz loves to float that ball in the air. It's a moonshot, essentially.
Mm-hmm.
You have Eddie Jackson back there who's having a pretty damn good season. I don't know if a lot of those passes get completed if he's the safety back there and, roaming the middle deep portion of the field. So I like that aspect if they're going to try and do that again because of Eddie Jackson. So I'm going to give the advantage to the Bears.
All right. So 25% is the edge. I'm curious to see in a little bit how that's going to impact our game picks. But first, we have some over-unders here to play, Nick. So first up, I'm going to start with the Bears defense. So here are some lines via PointsBet for some Commanders players. Carson Wentz, his line is at 220.5 passing.
220. Well, how I just phrased what I just said, I'm going to say under on the 220 there. I think the Bears can, contain Carson Wentz in this one.
I really hope so. I'm going to say over, and all of those yards, unfortunately, come through the dink and dunk method that we saw last week. It's not going to be those big explosive plays downfield. It's just going to be all those short passes that tend to add up. I think the Vikings attempted or only completed one pass of 20 yards or more a week ago. Everything was really in front, and that was by design by the Bears. They couldn't get off the field on third down, and hopefully this week they can turn that around. But I'll say over for that reason. What about Curtis Samuel at 50.5 receiving?
Oh man, he could get that on one play. How they were kind of airing it out, last week. But with that method you were kind of talking, I'll say over, but not by much. I'll go over on that mark.
I'm over too, just because again he can do so much. He's all over this offense. He can be an extension of their running game, and he's just going to get touches. So I think he hits the over too. What about Brian Robinson at 50.5 rushing against this Bears defense?
It's astonishing what he's even doing right now, Will. Obviously being shot in the leg and now playing
Right.
football not too much long after. I'll it was 15 and a half rushing was the
50 and a half.
50. Sorry, I thought we were doing rushing attempts. I'm gonna go under that. I think that's a little high. They still have Antonio Gibson there. I know he's kind of
Right.
fallen out. So I'm gonna go under that.
I'm just saying over because we can't stop anyone on the ground. It doesn't
Yeah.
matter how many backs they throw back there. What about Terry McLaurin at 50 and a half too? Same as Samuel.
15 and a half. Again, maybe one of them gets that mark because I went under, right? Or no, I went over. So I'll put under for Terry. Scary Terry here.
Because Jalen's back?
Because Jalen's back. And again, I think the secondary is going to play a little bit more of that cover two shell that they should have been playing earlier in the game against the Vikings and not allow one receiver to kind of go off. So I'll go under on that one.
All right. We'll switch to this Bears offense. Montgomery, his line is at 60 and a half rushing.
I think I'm going under.
I'm taking the under there too. Yeah. I mean, only 20 yards on the, 20 attempts, and it was bad. I'm not even going to go up my notes. I don't even want to remember what the line was last week. Justin Fields is at 175 and a half passing. Can he go over?
Give me over. I've been taking the over the last 2 weeks, Will, and he's gone over. And I think he's feeling more comfortable. He's getting the breathing down. I know Doug was talking about it. Better be one of your keys with the yoga instructor. We didn't put it there, but it is calming him down, and it looks like it's working. So I'm taking the over on that.
All right. I'm going to take the under, not to jinx it, because I want it to be the over. Darnell Mooney, 45 and a half receiving. I'm taking the over on that one. He's been a consistent force of the offense for a few weeks now, and I think that is officially allowing him to just be a part of the game plan again, which is real nice. And I feel like he doesn't need a lot of touches to get there, as we've seen. It can take one, and he's already over this line right now. He's been catching a lot of these deeper passes from Justin Fields, that incredible one last week. So I'm taking the over. How about you?
Well, do we know if there's going to be any weird weather stuff? Because whenever I put a high over or under on Darnell Mooney, there's a monsoon, there's some kind of weather affecting him. So I think we're good, though, for tomorrow. So I'll take over as well before really even diving into the weather report that never even is true. So I'll go over.
As of right now, around kickoff, we're looking at 48 degrees. 9% chance of precipitation, though. Oh, we got a super chat from Robert Lee. I think that deserves an injection right into the episode here because I value these super chats. Let's throw it on the screen. Robert asks, can the Bears start the game with the same intensity that they had in the latter part of the last week's game? I want to know what we think about this. I can't wait until we dominate an opposing team because I know we can. Wow. Yeah, dominating a team from start to finish would be such a good feeling. Exiting a game, it's been, as we know, every single week has been fighting tooth and nail. Do you think they can start that intensity? I know we talked about it in our keys earlier in terms of like what we would hope could happen, and it's something that we want to happen, but will it?
Yeah, that's a good question. Well, because Matty Reflux said maybe what they have to do is start fast and practice, and they haven't really even practiced this week. It's been a lot of walkthroughs, so they're not being able to implement that new way of trying to start faster in games, at least this week. But it's Thursday Night Football. I know Roquan Smith was pumped up in his press conference talking about this opportunity. Obviously it's hard on the players physically, but everyone's eyes are glued on you. So I know he's going to be pumped up, and he usually does the pregame speeches and things like that. But yeah, I want to see it too, because that would definitely help the Bears be more in games in the beginning and potentially winning them at the end.
Yeah, because we talked about it. We were focusing on like the Bears defense needing to make these adjustments quicker, but the offense is in a very similar boat. They just got started a little bit sooner than the Bears defense last week, which is why I think they're kind of being overlooked in that regard. But they have had some slow starts themselves that need to be corrected. Really good question, Robert. I appreciate the super chat. Thank you so much. All right, one more over under here is on my list. Quickly, Cole Kmet, 30 and a half.
Well, I don't know with Cole Kmet. I'm going under. Again, no expectations for him, to be completely honest.
Yeah, I'm with you, but I'm going to say over to be some devil's advocate playing over here. And why not? Why not? Yeah. I mean, he had a couple catches last week. If they start bringing some blitz towards Justin, maybe you can find some soft spots in the defense behind it yet again and get some angry runs. And just takes one or two of those, and you're at 30-1. All right. MVP time. Who's going to be the most valuable Bear when it's all said and done? I almost said Sunday. Thursday night, tomorrow. Who do you think is going to be the MVP, Nick?
I wonder if we have the same guy here, Will. I think it's got to be Justin Fields. No, not Justin Fields.
Consensus?
I think
we can do it.
Yeah, I think it's just because when you look at, we talked about the front, and if Justin's able to make those throws, handle the pressure when the line does break down and still make plays, then you really have a chance in this one. And, Justin's stringing together some games. And I know really it was just this last one, but can he start doing that? This is his first Thursday night football game of his career. Didn't have an opportunity to play in one of those. So getting to see how the week to prepare, let's see how, the second year quarterback can handle all that and just build off of a good performance from the Vikings in a losing effort. But I think the MVP, when it's all said and done, is going to be Justin Fields.
I'm right there with you with Justin. I just really enjoyed watching the growth over the last 2 weeks. And I think those are just stepping stones for him to continue this path forward, to play a little bit better each and every week. And as we know, it's not going to be linear. Progression is never or rarely linear in life. You're going to have ups and downs, but as long as the end of the day, the trend is upwards, you have to feel pretty good about it. But this is a matchup that he should have his opportunities, whether it be on the ground, whether it be with his arm. And I just feel like this offense gets these, as you've reported earlier this week, right? Like they have a plan. They're sticking to it when it comes to Justin. And I feel like Justin, knowing that the coaches have a plan for him and that they continue to believe it and they want to stick with it and they're not abandoning ship and just kind of like trying to figure out something new out of the gate, I think will continue to instill confidence in him. And I don't know. I can just tell that this guy just wants to win and he doesn't care about his numbers or anything. Like the run from David Montgomery last week, the very first touchdown of the game, like he was the first one in the end zone celebrating with the running back. Hands up, let's go. We scored. He didn't care if he just handed the ball off. He didn't have to do anything special there. They didn't put the ball in Justin's hands in the red zone, but it didn't matter to him. He just wants to win. He wants to be a good teammate. And I feel like this is going to be a good game. QB1 shirt over there from Nick, that he just continues to show that progress. And if the Bears win this game, I think a lot of it's going to have to do with Justin, his ability to execute within his offense, because this Bears running attack, as we know, went away a little bit last week. And this is not a super favorable matchup for them too. So Justin Fields, let's go. He'll be the MVP here tomorrow night. Good stuff, Nick. I'm glad we had a consensus. I don't think we've had that yet this year.
No, I think I've been trying to just be different when I know it's not going to work. But yes, that was nice to have the consensus. And if that's the case, maybe I mean, we might as well talk about it. Will, who do you got winning? I'm gonna ask the question this time. Will, who do you got in this one?
As long as I don't F it up like I did Monday night, right? Like with the rules that we put in place with the answer and I rambled. Anywho, I have the Bears winning, even though they took the Commanders had 75% of our edges. I think the Bears still win. I have them winning 24-20. I think the mistakes that the Commanders have been making and the lack of turnovers they've been forcing in defense will really help this Bears team. And when I look at it overall, this coaching staff is starting to kind of get into its zone a bit, into itself. Like Getsy's starting to play do the play calls better. I think Eberflus has a better grasp on what it means to be a head coach on a day-to-day basis, because it is different than being a coordinator. Like when it's in an actual game environment, your responsibilities are totally different. He's looking comfortable. And what I just keep hearing and feeling out of Washington is like they're kind of over the Ron Rivera time. Like they don't think he's fully into it, slightly checked out. His decision-making in game has been suspect at best. And I think coaching is going to have a huge impact on this game overall. And one other thing I noticed in their game against the Titans last week, they don't practice hits, Nick. I don't know if you saw some of those too, but I saw some loafs from this defense. I saw a couple plays where a playmaker who had the ball carrier got past the defender, and the defender just kind of stopped running. Like gave up on the play. Like he wasn't trying to chase him down from behind, make an extra play, extra effort on the ball. And so if they're going to be lazy like that on defense too, like that should also help this Bears team end up on top. So not playing in spider football, coaching is being I think those give the Bears an upper hand here this week, even though you look at the matchups and some worry you. At the end of the day, there's more than that. I think this is one of those weeks that will come true. So Bears 24, Commanders 20. What about you?
I think I went back and forth on this one, Will, and like you, I have the Bears winning this one. I have them 20-17. I think when you look at the matchup, like we said, like Washington does have some talent on this team throughout their roster, and we gave a lot of those matchups in favor to the Commanders. But I think QB1 does some things on Thursday night. Well, I really do, and if that's the case, it's going to be close. Like I think the line at PointsBet has it at 38. The total, I take the under. Obviously, with 37 being the final outcome between the two teams, but I do have the Bears taking the victory on Thursday Night Football at Soldier Field, 20-17.
How do you feel about expectations slowly rising again for Justin, or just entering a game and feeling like, yeah, he should be in store for, a good performance, considering where we were just 3 weeks ago? Like, are you nervous about feeling this way or not? Because I'm still in inner turmoil where I want to be exactly where you're at. And I think I've expressed that throughout this entire episode, but at the same time, there's that part of me that's relax, chill, pull back a bit. Cause I'm a Bears fan. I'm afraid to be hurt yet again by a quarterback.
Well, here's the thing too. Well, this could be a game where, look, if there's movement taking to go backwards, right? In terms of everything, it could happen, right? This front seven is nasty. They can get after Justin Fields, and we all remember how Cleveland went last year. And God, if it's anything in that manner where there's just no blocking whatsoever, yeah, it could be bad. So I'm I have expectations, but I think it's really after this week. I want to see what Fields can string together here. But I know, maybe 2 hours before the show, I had Washington winning this game. I flopped it here. So, yeah, it's expectations are low to answer your question, though.
All right, flip-flopping. We have our confidence meters to do, but real quick, I have a message from our partners over at Game Time. And while you're listening to me tell you about Game Time, number one, download their app. And number two, if you have a question for Nick and I, throw it in the chat, because after our confidence meters, we're going to do a Q&A with all you in the chat. Any question that you have, we'll star them in the comments, and then we'll pull them up on screen as soon as we're done with our confidence meters. And hit the like button. I think we're getting close to 100 here in today's episode, and I want to see that number hit the century mark. But real quick about Game Time, they are the hottest new ticketing site that makes it easier than ever to score the best deals on tickets to sports, concerts, and shows. Ever dreamed of sitting in the seat you never thought you could? The 50-yard line, courtside, behind home plate, floor seats at a concert? It's possible with the Game Time app. The biggest last-minute price drops can be found on the seats that you thought you could never buy. You won't find a better deal this season on the Chicago Bears right now. Look at that. You can see tickets for only $100 each, $104 right now at the Game Time app. And that way you can head over, cheer on our Bears tomorrow night as they take on the Washington Commanders. Game Time is created by the fans, for the fans, and they also guarantee the lowest price. And if you love CHGO, you're going to love Game Time. The best way to support us is by buying your tickets through the link in the description. That's here on YouTube, as well as your podcast player of choice. The link is right there for you. So join over 15 million people who have downloaded the Game Time app and scored the best seats to all your favorite events. All right, Nick, home stretch. We both have the Bears winning, but how confident are you in the victory? Scale 1 to 10, where are you at?
I hope I updated this right for Lawrence here. If not, I'm sorry, but I'm at a 5.8 for my confidence. Yes, we got the graphic right. I didn't make that change, and I made it in time. But yeah, 5.8. Will, this one's going to be a nail biter, I feel like, and really it's going to come down to whether or not Justin Fields can make plays with the pressure that Washington's going to bring throughout the entirety of the night. So I think that's going to be the big factor in this one. But again, 5.8 is my confidence the Bears come away with the victory.
Man, I must have woke up in a really good mood 2 days in a row. I'm sitting at a 7.5 for my confidence meter. Really all the reasons I talked about the who wins, right? In terms of the coaching and that being another X factor in this game, and the Bears playing more inspired football, and Justin taking that next step, and the defense trying to figure some things out. I think there's a lot of reasons to feel good about this Bears team come Thursday night if they kind of can put those pieces together, and I believe they can. And I do want to preface, on Monday, I kind of said I'm pulling back, wins and losses. At the end of the day, I'm not going to be upset if the Bears are on the wrong side of things, as long as I'm still seeing growth and reasons to believe, and I'm still there. Even though I'm at 7.5, this is a hard fought game. And for some reason, like, the Bears are on one end of things, but like, I feel good about where Justin's still heading. Maybe some better play on the defense overall. And I just feel like, hey, they played better. Fine. Like, this is a season where I just want development at this stage too. So confident, yes. Will I be devastated? No. And that's a little bit different where I've been over the last few weeks. All right, let's get over to some of these questions here in the chat. So we got from Mark here. 2 questions. Ooh, sneaky. Is Patrick back at center? And is how's it Sko no fielder playing with the first team? I think he needs Schofield, and then the phone probably went berserk on him. But any answers there for Mark? I feel like we hit it a little bit earlier, but anything you want to add to it? No.
Yeah, is Patrick back at center? No. And is Schofield back with the first team? He is not. So, yep, nothing changing along the offensive line this week.
Mubs wants to know how many sacks for the Washington defensive line. I think they get 2.
Okay. If they get like upwards of 4, it wouldn't surprise me. They have a lot of capable guys, but we'll see how the Bears can scheme against that.
So you're saying they will get 4?
3.5.
3.5. This is not an over/under.
Wait, yeah, you get a half sack, right? Or
you can, but like,
you can, but someone else gives it. Yeah, so
right.
4.
Okay, there we go. Belzaire asks, is Patrick even an upgrade over Mustard for this point at center? Do you think he would be an upgrade?
I think so. I think look, that's his natural, that's the position he was brought here to play. And I know it's been bad. He's missed blocks, but I think he would still be an upgrade over Sam Mustard.
I agree. And again, he's played right guard and he got thrown in left guard. And I thought his first game at left guard, considering he hasn't really practiced or played there too often, was good. He actually had a good lead block on David Montgomery's run downfield the second level to kind of help seal that for him. So yeah, I think he's not bad. And I think Mustard has shown that he isn't as good. Although Mustard also had a good lead block in the second level on that same exact play. So kudos to the entire offensive line. I don't want to leave Sam under the bus if I don't have to there. J2K asks, or at least says, Will, we had a Velus Jones sighting. How excited was I to see him getting that first touchdown? Oh, I was so excited. I had to listen to the game because I was at my son's football game. But when I heard that in my ear, I was like pumping my fist up in the air and there's like nothing going on. And all the other parents are like, what is going on? Like with this guy, like, why is he super excited? Like there's literally a timeout on the field, but it was Velus Jones. And I had to immediately go to Twitter, find a highlight, watch it a few times, quote tweet it with like my proud little emoji. It was really great to see after waiting so long and so patiently to see him get into this offense. And hey, one touchdown. I'm feeling pretty good about that conversion rate. How did you feel about it, Nick? I know Bayless is someone that pre-draft process you're like meh. Then he kind of got on board, and obviously the Bears need all the playmakers they could, and getting a rookie out there and getting him involved in scoring, I thought that was a good run off that pop pass too.
I think it was just a smart decision by the Luke Getsy to get him involved. Like that's how you thought. Like again, he didn't have to run a route downfield. Just let him use his speed. And when we saw it from the press box, you're like, yeah, that's gonna score. And Justin Fields knew that. They knew that going into the week. Like if we could get him on this play, we have a good chance of scoring there. And the Bears did.
All right, Kyle asks, what do you think the O-line will look like and how many of these players will be starters next year? Now, that is a very good question. I think Tevin Jenkins is a starter next year. Braxton Jones will be a starter next year. And then after that, can't guarantee anyone else will. What about you?
Maybe, man, like Cody White, I have to see his contract, right? To see what he's got left. But look, obviously the Bears are testing out some young tackles right now in Braxton Jones, Larry Borum, and Tevin Jenkins, I think, has found his role at right guard, but nothing, I don't know if anything's really solidified, up to, through 5 games so far in 2022. So a lot of change coming to this Bears team overall next season.
Oh, for sure. Without question. Blaze the Nugs. Can I say that? Question to, well, yeah, it's Illinois. Question to Will and Nick. Who can eat more meat sticks in one sitting? And they want other people to weigh in. I think, Nick, you would beat me in a meat stick eat-off.
I hate all of this. I think I would. I just go back to maybe like the one time we had the unlimited snow crab legs, and I ate 20 of those damn things. So I love like snow crab. We both do. We need to go back and do that.
King crab.
Oh, king crab. Sorry, but we need to go back, do that again. I think I could eat more meat sticks. So
I think so too. It's your appetite is a little bit more than mine. I mean, hell, you work out and you have a lot of calories that you need to burn. And I raise a baby, work in an office, and haven't been able to go to the gym since like pre-COVID. So I think it's just the nature of that
a little
too.
different, yeah.
Are they doing crab again, or is it still lobster?
I think they added back the crab, Will, but
Okay.
I have to check that out. If that's the case, we gotta schedule that and go to what is it? The crab cellar, right?
Yes.
Crab cellar? Yes. We
Yeah,
gotta
we'll
do
be
it.
going. And by the way, you ate more than me because like my hands were swelling up like balloons a little bit because
Yeah.
I'm allergic to crab, or at least I was, and now I can eat it. But apparently my hands are still allergic, and like the little like king crab like things were poking me in the hand, and then my hands started like swelling up from an allergic reaction. So I like stopped and then are itching for like 2 days. Why do I
It's
do that
worth
to
it though.
myself? Because it's king crab. It's worth it.
Yeah. It's worth it.
All right. Enrique asks, did Hoag's newsletter come out today? It did not. He's been under the weather, so he wasn't able to write that here. I do load that up to the newsletter and publish it in the email. So I made my morning a little bit easier, but I do look forward to reading it just like you, and it will be back here next week. Mubs asks, can CHGO state what their schedule looks like for the rest of the week with the Bears playing tomorrow night? So we have our pregame show tomorrow. We have a live stream throughout the entire episode game tomorrow night in studio, and then we'll be doing the post-game show. So tomorrow is very busy, especially in the evening, and then Friday we're off because that's a lot of work. Did I get that right?
Yeah. That sounds about right.
Yeah.
Perfect. I paid attention in our meeting.
Especially
look at me.
It's a lot of work part. So that'll
Yes,
be
it
fun.
is. J2K wants to know, Nick, where the hell is your shoe?
Here we go. I am getting rid of that damn thing. I tried putting up the shoe to make it float and whatnot before the show started. Could not get the damn magnet and the shoe weight to balance out. And actually, the magnet is. I can't actually take that off right now. I'm not strong enough. It's just a hassle. I need to find something else to fill the void here. So, do you have any recommendations? I'm not putting meat sticks. I know that's going to come up here. Put meat sticks. No, something else is going to go there. I'm returning it from Amazon, but it was cool for like the 2 weeks that I had it.
Yeah, no, I enjoyed it a lot. And I don't know, maybe you need to eat more meat sticks and you'll be able just to pull that magnet down with all that protein that you're packing in with each and every bite.
I can't actually get this.
It ain't going to happen. Nope.
Oh, strong as hell.
Next question from AGM. Do we think the Bears should use Montgomery more as receiver? I don't know if he means like lining up out wide or just as a pass catcher. they're not going to hurt if he gets more of those touches, especially if he's not gaining yards on his rushing attempts. It's just been hard sledding for the receivers to get overly involved. I mean, Mooney's been more involved. EQ had the catch, but like outside of that, like Pettis' opportunities were drops. It's the receivers aren't doing too much as a positional group, so you're going to need the other ones to step up, tight end, running back included.
I think all options are on the table, which is a very,
Don't say it.
Yeah, I know. I hated myself for saying it, but yeah, I would like to see David Montgomery involved a little bit more in the pass. I would like to see everybody more involved in the passing game, to be completely honest. So that's how I'll answer that question.
Love it. Doug wants to know, do we think Alan Williams would be better up in the box, getting that bird's eye view? That's actually a really interesting question because obviously a lot of these adjustments are being made at the half, and that's when you get a little bit more of the data. You can like reconnect with those coaches who are upstairs. You can look at some of those, footage or whatever you see in the tablets nowadays. They don't like let us know exactly what they get because it used to be like all those photos that they would print out in the sidelines, but like you get to see all those looks, then they make those adjustments. Maybe being up there, he'll see him a little bit quicker and diagnose, but then you lose like the intimacy of being on the sideline with your team and making those decisions down there. So it's a give and take situation. I don't know. I think he could be better in the box. We're not saying that's the right decision for him.
Yeah, that's an interesting question, and maybe something to be brought up the next time we get Alan Williams at the press conference. I saw somebody works at the crab cellar. Did I see that in the comments here,
What?
Will? Yeah, that would be. I don't know. Maybe that just went by too quickly.
Maybe Lawrence can find it. I'm in the starred ones, and we're throwing up another
Okay.
question from Torin. Montgomery versus Montgomery. Which one playing tomorrow? Or the Montgomery. I apologize. I think we get Montgomery, right?
Hopefully, yeah. That was unfortunate for David, and yeah, he was asked about it, and obviously they made the change, the adjustment before the game started to get the right jersey out there.
Sebastian, if the Bears can get DJ Moore for a third and a future 4th-round pick, should we pick him? Man, that seems like a low price for DJ Moore right now. I know there's a little bit of a contract that the Bears would have to absorb in that as well. I've been kind of keeping up with the DJ Moore trade talks to a degree. I don't know if the Bears are feeling like they're in a position to make a big move like that, but also if it expedites a move that maybe you would make over the offseason of next year, maybe. I've seen people, the whole straight up Roquan for DJ Moore thing. I got a lot of attention on Twitter the other day, but I don't know. My mind's more on these games, let alone like making some of these trades right now personally. But I do appreciate like the question to understand where it's coming from. Do you have any thoughts, Nick?
Yeah, for me, I haven't put in too much thought into, the trade scenario, what it would take to get a guy like that. But I mean, it's a guy that's had 3 1,000-yard receiving seasons, and in Carolina's situation with their quarterback, like obviously, if you're making that happen. But yeah, I don't know. It's an interesting thing to think about, and obviously the Bears need more playmakers at the wide receiver position, so I can see why people entertain the idea.
Ron Burgundy wants to know what we want to see out of the coaching staff. Is there anything specific that we haven't mentioned, or anything you just want to like quickly like re-solidify?
Again, Alan Williams at defense making the adjustments from drive to drive as opposed to first half to second half. I think you'll see some instant changes happen for the defense and hopefully good results.
Yeah, I just want to see Luke Gessie just continue to cater to Justin Fields and build this offense around him and allow him to play a little bit more freely within it. Outside of that, though, I feel like they're just on the right track and direction, and I'm excited to continue. We talk about all these players developing, and a lot of these coaches are developing too, right? Eberflus first-time head coach, Gessie first-time offensive coordinator, play caller. Same thing for Alan Williams. Like they're all rookies in their own right too. So there's a lot of just overall development happening from the coaching staff all the way down to the players. Really good question there, Ron. Dingleberry, yeah, I'm going to say it. Mr. Dingle here wants to know, why isn't there more Mooney slant routes out of the slot? It's a very good question. You think those are nice, easy completions for Justin in this offense? Do you have any inkling as to why we're not attempting those?
I don't know. Well, I mean, this is obviously, Luke Gessie come from Green Bay. They ran slants all damn day. And, you would think they would kind of bring that over. And I don't know, no Adams, Devontae Adams. I don't know how that works. But yeah, it's a fair question to ask.
For sure. Sebastian, should we trade Roquan Quinn for more draft capital?
Who's taking Quinn right now? Like the way he's playing, the contract, how old he is? I don't know where the trade compensation will be and who would actually want him at this point.
What about Roquan? Would you do it, or would you just keep him here?
It depends. Like I think obviously, he missed a couple plays last week, but he's still a very good football player, guys. So I don't know if I'm trading Roquan just yet.
Fair point. Well, Ethan wants to know if the Bears should sign Will Fuller to kickstart these receivers. I feel like if he's still sitting out there, there's a reason for it. And I personally believe that Poles wants Harry to be a guy that can be a player that can come in and kickstart this unit, would show him or show the league like, hey, I can still identify talent and make some of these good moves. And I brought in someone for not a lot of capital, and look what he's able to do now in my offense and make him look like a really smart GM. So I think he's trying to hold out on that one. We got one. Louis C. I work there. Crab seller.
We'll have to visit. Sometime soon.
Quality crab, absolutely, and oyster. See, I don't know. Can I eat oyster? We'll bring an EpiPen, and then I can definitely still eat oyster. How about that? I don't even have one, which is the craziest thing considering like the first time I ever had shellfish in my life, like my whole face and throat like closed. Like you'd think the doctor would say, get that person like an EpiPen. You'd think. All right. I think we got one final question here, Nick, unless did Nick freeze, which is really sad. I can answer the question for Nick real quick though. When does the mustache return? Obviously, this is from me and not Nick because I have such a strong mustache game. But no, I think Nick said he's waiting for November to potentially bring that back, AGM. So I don't want to speak for Nick, but in this case, I'm going to
let's just speak for Nick. It's kind of funny. He's looking at you like as if, is that really true?
Right? Like I thought he was really thinking about like this EpiPen thing. And then I was like,
he's still there.
Yeah.
Oh, well.
Yeah, I think November, but I think that does it then. Because Nick's internet said no more. We hit the point of no return.
Here you go.
Good stuff in the background there, Lawrence. All those graphics, those are pretty awesome.
Bad storm knocked out the power. Bad storm.
It looks sunny.
I mean, it's been drizzling. I actually left my dog outside. I feel bad. My dog's all wet downstairs on the couch now, but whatever.
All right.
We're good.
Well, you go warm up the pup. I'm going to sign off and get this podcast out. I appreciate everyone here. A lot of people viewing today. Make sure to hit that like button. Follow me on Twitter at Will DeWitt, Miles for ones, at Nicholas Moreano. Despite the power, can be found on Twitter at Nicholas Moreano. Subscribe to this channel. Help us reach our next 20,000 YouTube subscribers. We'll love it. Leave a review on Apple Podcasts. Love to see those come in. And I'll see you all, I think, Monday night. So enjoy all the Bears pregame, postgame, during the game content here on the channel. And I'll see you soon. But until then, bear down, Chicago.
Whew.